Hey everyone, thank you for joining us in this Defense Innovation Board public meeting. My name is Dr. Marina Theodotou, and I'm the designated federal officer for the Defense Innovation Board. Today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded to allow members of the public to attend the meeting virtually or view it later. Thank you to the Defense Media Agency for providing their expert support, and to my team and all involved to bring this event here today. The board will now convene in its public session. First, I would like to make a few procedural announcements. This board is a discretionary independent board operated under the Federal Advisory Committee Act and the Government Sunshine Act. Today's meeting was announced in the Federal Register notice posted on January 13th. There have been no significant changes in the agenda, and the meeting's agenda is posted on the Federal Register notice. Due to time restrictions, the board did not receive any written comments from the citizens for the board members in advance of today's meetings. And now, I would like to welcome back the Defense Innovation Board, and I would like to turn it over to our Defense Innovation Board Chair, Mr. Mike Bloomberg. Sir, over to you.
Marina, thank you, and thank you to everyone who is watching. Thanks for joining us. This meeting of the Defense Innovation Board, otherwise known as the DIB, is the culmination of 2.5 years of good work together. And I just want to thank all the members that are here with us and those that couldn't be here today for the time and attention that they've contributed to this big team effort. I know I speak for everyone when I say it's an honor to serve. We have had the good fortune to meet a lot of impressive, talented people working on incredibly complex challenges every single day. Their commitment really is inspiring to see, and our mission has been to support them in every way that we can. By the numbers, our board has met with almost 750 leaders from up and down the ranks in every military branch, the Defense Department, universities, and business. We've issued more than 150 independent recommendations tailored to 8 specific challenges that Secretary Austin directed us to study in depth. And by the end of 2024, the department had implemented 40% of our initial recommendations, with hopefully more to follow. The department really has come a long way in recent years on modernizing its data practices, procurement, incentives, and working more closely with the private sector. But I think it's also fair to say that there's always more work to do, and everyone in senior leadership that we've talked with would agree. So today we'll talk about some of the department's most urgent priorities in the context of our 2 newest reports. The reports are called, quote, A Pathway to Scaling Unmanned Weapon Systems, unquote, and the second one is, quote, Scaling Non-Traditional Defense Innovation, unquote. Mac Thornberry is ready to tell us about the former, and Gilda Barberino the latter. Mac will speak first, and then the other board members will have a chance to comment before we hold a vote. We will then hold a vote and try the same thing with Gilda. So Mac, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would say, first off, I really appreciate the opportunity to work with Sue Gordon, Charles Phillips, and Admiral Mullen on this study, as well as the staff and a draft special government employee, Hannah Jones. I think it's clear to all of us that unmanned systems have and are changing warfare. We use them successfully in the fight against terrorists to try to prevent a recurrence of 9/11. But what we're seeing in Ukraine, in the Middle East, and what we think a potential conflict in Asia might look like is of a different order. It means we have to build far more of these systems than most of us can even imagine. And we can't wait till the conflict starts to go do it. Then it's too late. And the other thing I think a lot of people don't realize is we will have them, need them in every domain of warfare. Everybody talks about drones, but it's also true on the land and in and under the sea. The department knows this, and August of 2023, the Deputy Secretary announced the Replicator Program. And as part of this study, we've talked with that team about what they've learned. We've talked with folks with firsthand knowledge of what's happening in Ukraine. As you mentioned, we've talked with the services, commanders, industry, and we've also looked at other studies on this topic. Just to summarize our recommendations, I think I can boil it down to 5 things. Number 1, we need to buy a lot of something and just get going. There's a bit of a catch-22 that the military needs to have a lot of something in order to experiment and war game in order to know what they need. But they've got to have enough of them to use in the war games, and we're at somewhat of an impasse. We can't wait for the perfect thing. We've got to break through and buy a bunch of something so the military can focus on what they need. We had a number of people tell us the long pole in the tent's not the technology. It's the doctrine, the organization, the training, the tactics. Those are the things that the military can develop if it has enough systems, enough drones or whatever system it is in order to work with. Secondly, there needs to be money on the table. Industry is not going to invest based on a press release. There's got to be money there, and it needs to be flexible so that if the program manager pursues a course and decides that it's not the right thing, he or she can swiftly change to another course. And there's all sorts of details about the lack of flexibility in funding, but it is essential for, I think, any area of warfare that relies on technology that is changing to have that flexibility. It's something that the department will have to work with the Congress on. Third, somebody needs to be empowered to drive the issue. As I mentioned, the Deputy Secretary has been driving Replicator, but you can't have the Deputy Secretary involved at that level in every program. We have some suggestions on some organizational changes. There may be some others. But the key point, I think, Mr. Chairman, is the department has moved fast in the past when it had to, with the Warp Speed program to develop vaccines, with JIATO when we had service members getting blown up in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the MRAP program similarly. So it can move fast. You got to have somebody, though, that pushes it. Fourth, there are a number of supply chain issues when it comes to making a large number of drones that the department's going to have to address. And fifth, they're going to have to work hand in glove with industry, not just day by day, but hour by hour. The speed of delivery has got to be a crucial factor in deciding which companies to contract with. I would say, Mr. Chairman, you sum it all up, our most important recommendation is to act. Do something with the urgency that the geopolitical situation and the advancing technologies demand. And in that sense, I think in a lot of ways, the message of this study on unmanned systems is consistent and in some ways the same as the message that we've given in other studies over the last 2.5 years. We're too rigid, too bureaucratic, and most of all, too slow in supporting our warfighters with the best technology that our nation can produce. Lots of people are doing good things, but incremental steps are not going to deter and prevent, or if necessary, prevail in a great power war. As with the other studies that we've done, we found that it's not really a technology problem, but it's in people, processes, and organizational behavior problem. And the good news of that is those are things we can solve for, and we hope we do.
Mac, thank you, and thank you for your committee and all the work that you've done, not just now, but in your previous career. We're going to have a vote on the recommendations, and I will call each member as name, and they will say yay or nay. Gilda Barberino.
Yay.
Sue Gordon.
Yay.
Charles Phillips.
Yay.
Will Roper.
I'm recused on this study, so there is a third option. It's recused.
That I didn't know, but it's good I've learned that now. I should have asked. Ryan Swan.
Yay.
And here's the tricky one, Mac Thornberry.
Yay.
Great. I think that concludes the first study. And now, Gilda, it's your turn to tell us about the second study. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my thanks also to other members of the study committee, Mary Meeker, Will Roper, and Ryan Swan. And thanks also to the staff who provided excellent support to us. We were tasked to provide outcome-driven recommendations on scaling non-traditional defense innovation. We met with over 200 stakeholders to include DoD leaders, industry experts, warfighters, and academics. We had a number of key findings, which I'll share with you. First, despite the competition with China and conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, the DoD still lacks the ability to rapidly test, procure, and field emerging capability within months or weeks. And without aggressive action, our warfighters are on track to risk defeat on the battlefield. We strongly urge immediately amplifying the urgency level, taking a significant portion of research, development, test, and evaluation investment out of the planning, programming, budgeting, and execution process, and placing it within a system of flexible procurement. We need to significantly enhance the acquisition system's risk tolerance for failure, enforce existing authorities and contract mechanisms for non-traditional vendors, and incentivize the DoD contracting workforce to place larger bets on new market participants through a mix of both critical acquisition targets and open topic-based pathways. Our overarching recommendation is to address the immediate imperatives of focused organizational structure, cultural optimization, and dedicated capital required for leveraging non-traditional vendor capabilities at scale. Among our key recommendations, 1, Congress and the DoD should expand DIU into a cross-service Sherpa office, a fully staffed and resourced front door to the DoD market for commercial industry that's capable of providing entry to exit support to non-traditional vendors at scale. 2, train the DoD acquisition workforce on relational contracting, and that's including training for program executive offices and balanced proposal pricing. We should eliminate burdensome, confusing, or lengthy contracting. For example, eliminate the Defense Contract Audit Authority audits and accounting reviews for firm fixed price contracts that are under $2 million. We should require the PEOs to justify contracts with market research in accordance with the Federal Acquisition Streamlining Act. And we should maintain clarity on trade-offs across cost, schedule, and performance. Establish a non-traditional vendor investment review committee that's overseen by OSD, Office of Cost Assessment and Program Evaluation. We should commit to procuring and fielding 5 to 10 game-changing capabilities inside 2027 and embrace a minimum variable product mindset to prevent Chinese overmatch. We could organize, for example, a first breakfast with DoD, Congress, industry, and investment leaders to commit to these procurements and grant the Office of Strategic Capital equity funding authority. We should streamline security clearance requirements for non-traditional vendors, including establishing a central credentialing authority and allowing vendors greater access to utilize SCIFs. We could implement an ex post instead of ex ante approach to risk in IT, cloud, and network security. That is, allow vendors to compete on performance, innovation, price, and create a walk-up to compliance and mail vendors on the back end with liability instead of requiring approvals on the front end. We could create a senior leader tracking group for recent ATO DoD CIO reciprocity changes, and adopt the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. We could also establish the Rapid Innovation Fund, which is now known as the Rapid Integrated Scalable Enterprise Program, as a stopgap DoD, SBIR, STTR Phase 3 fund, while working with Congress to investigate options for a permanent Phase 3 program using a variety of sources, either additional appropriations or pooled funds from existing programs. And finally, we could establish dedicated OASIS funds within each service, complementing the permanent SBIR STTR Phase 3 fund with an additional funding vehicle for promising non-traditional vendors. Leverage decolorized end of fiscal year contingency readiness funds instead of separate appropriations or taxing existing service programs. Thank you.
Gilda, thank you, and thanks to all of those that worked with you. We'll now vote on the recommendations, and each member will say yay or nay, assuming they are authorized to vote in this one. You can vote in this one? I can't wait to see what you do. First, Gilda Barabino.
Yay.
Sue Gordon.
Yay.
Charles Phillips.
Yay.
Will Roper.
Yay.
Loud. Ryan Swan.
Yay.
Mac Thornberry.
Yay.
Well, that concludes the second study for today. And Marina, would you please share any public comments that we might have received?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So the board always welcomes public comments and questions and feedback to the studies. And in this particular case, we haven't received any pertinent or direct feedback for our two studies. However, the board has been, over the last 2.5 years, has been receiving a number of recommendations, and we've been fielding those back to the board. So the Defense Innovation Board always is listening and always welcomes your feedback and perspectives, because we do share those with the chair and the members for their consideration. And with that,
Let me just say that we have a wonderful country. We have a great military. The world's a dangerous place. We need to have to make sure that our military has the assets that they need, has the training that they need, has the spirit and the understanding and support of the public. And God help us all if we don't have it. But it's been an honor for all of us to serve and to get what we think is a program that can be implemented. Not everything has to be done the way we thought, but at least it will get everybody to think and to take action rather than just to sit around. And I think that's really one of the key. The world is changing very rapidly. And if we don't do something, there's an awful lot of dangers that everything that we've built in the last 250 years can be thrown away. Time to take a break?
yes, I think that's that we're at the juncture. We'll take a brief pause, and we'll be back with the Deputy Secretary and her comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Glad to be joined by a leader who knows the issues that we've been discussing as well as anyone. Kathleen Hicks is the Deputy Defense Secretary, and together with Secretary Austin, she has run the department's innovation portfolio for the past 4 years, most notably its Replicator Unmanned Systems Initiative, and her counsel and partnership have been very helpful to our board. Of course, she and her team are busy sprinting to the finish line, So we certainly appreciate her taking the time to say a few words to us today. And Deputy Secretary Hicks, it is good to see you, and thank you for doing this, and the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. It's great to see you and the whole Defense Innovation Board. Thank you all for the very hard work that you've put forward on the studies that you were published today. Delivering innovations at scale with speed is so important, as you've heard me emphasize before. Innovation is a never-ending imperative for DoD, but I'm really deeply proud of the progress that we've made over the past 4 years, substantially lowering barriers to innovation across the DoD enterprise, from the boardroom to the battle space. From day one, we focused on the urgency to innovate and enabled DoD to deliver using a clear and comprehensive warfighter-centric approach, supporting game-changing initiatives, assuming risk, and investing in the workforce. Innovation adoption is fundamentally a change management problem. That's why we've employed an effective theory of change, building trust and confidence across the defense enterprise, demonstrating what's possible, rewarding game changers, and promoting the best ideas and success through teamwork. For instance, DoD's Rapid Defense Experimentation Reserve, or RADAR initiative, begun in October 2021, Competitive Advantage Pathfinders, established in April of 2022, and the Replicator initiative, launched in August of 2023, they all show how we've realized the benefits of focused senior leader attention on improving process to accelerate the development and fielding of innovative solutions that address warfighter needs. To be clear, these were all pathfinders, not the sum total of the changes we have pursued or seek. In launching, developing, and executing RADAR, CAP, and Replicator, DoD leaders took on risk to show others what is necessary to unleash what is possible within the defense enterprise and with the private sector. Beyond those 3 examples, we've elevated and resourced organizations like the Defense Innovation Unit and Strategic Capabilities Office, which are scaling our capacity for rapid prototyping and fielding, working closely with the services and COCOMs. We've ignited a culture shift in combatant commands and military services and in our research and engineering enterprise. For example, by supporting innovation leaders in CENTCOM, INDOPACOM, and elsewhere who are getting after combined joint all-domain command and control. By accelerating the Marine Corps' force design to deliver agility, innovation, and technological advancement, and in 2027 rather than the previously planned 2030. And by creating the Office of Strategic Capital, which has already begun accepting applications for loans to accelerate commercialization and scale production of critical technologies. You can also see the progress monetarily. Over the last 4 years, at least $375 billion DoD dollars have gone to non-traditional defense companies, from commercial firms to venture-backed defense tech, startups, and scale-ups. Because, as you've heard me say before, staying ahead in strategic competition requires DoD to work better with newcomers to our mission who have game-changing technologies that can benefit the warfighter. In all, when we look across 4 annual defense budgets and multiple supplemental funding bills, adding up all our capability investments for R&D plus procurement, the real dollar total is over $1.2 trillion. Even after controlling for inflation, that's more than DoD invested in those areas across any 4-year period during the Cold War. Money matters, but at the same time, we cannot achieve the level of innovation we need without talented people, critical outside-the-box thinkers with top-tier training. And it's important that we get out of the way of skilled, talented experts, because smart, creative people will go further and widen the path of what's possible. Over the last 4 years, top tech talent from the private sector increasingly chose to work for and with us, leaving lucrative jobs at places like Lyft, Apple, Google AI, and others. We also created the position of Chief Talent Management Officer and hired the inaugural CTMO, who is working closely with leaders throughout the department. And we continue to invest in processes to modernize DoD talent management, where we are woefully behind the private sector. This is especially necessary for the civilian workforce. And speeding security clearances, maintaining a short time to hire, and attracting the finest talent are all important goals we have only started to advance. Looking ahead, I want to share 5 key insights for success because recognizing the bipartisan consensus around the imperative to innovate, there is still so much work to do. First, innovation cannot be the sole province of any one slice of DoD or only the executive branch. Just as there are no silver bullets, there's no sole owner of defense innovation. Rather, it must always be the responsibility of everyone, every component, every leader. To do otherwise gives the rest of the bureaucracy a pass to say, it's not my problem, not my lane, not born here, and such excuses too often hinder defense innovation in the first place. And we must have support in Congress for new ways of doing business, from authorizers and appropriators alike. Ending the routine, now even casual use of continuing resolutions, a highly destructive habit Congress can't seem to kick, is a great place to start. CRs often challenge the core of my second insight, which is that execution is paramount. And it must occur across the entire delivery chain that turns vision into capabilities at scale. It's easy to talk a big game, but if you do, you have to be ready to deliver. We knew execution would be key with Replicator. It's where other innovation visions had stumbled in the past, so that was part of our thinking from the very beginning. My third insight, well-intentioned disruptors have more allies than they realize. Sometimes they're hard to find. They can even be encased in the so-called frozen middle. You've got to find the mavericks, thaw them out, and embrace them. Hold them accountable, but embrace them. Then create and align incentives to build more disruptors, because so much depends on talent. Make no mistake, DoD will always need bold change agents from top to bottom and bottom to top, willing to challenge the status quo. It takes leadership at all levels. The fourth insight is something we can never forget. Moving fast and breaking things is necessary to win wars, but we cannot break the law, our oaths to the Constitution, or the public's trust. Those who do cross those lines always make it 10 times harder for themselves and the well-intentioned change agents that come after them. That brings me to my fifth insight. We can never get complacent because this is a protracted campaign. Technology will keep changing. Today's good habits and best practices will one day be stale and outdated. Our global competitors will continue to advance their capabilities, especially the PRC. We're in a generational competition for transient advantage with a dynamic adversary. So we must also be constantly learning, growing, evolving, and pushing ourselves. It's all hands on deck. The Pentagon may be made of Indiana limestone, but its processes weren't meant to calcify for all eternity, nor be stuck in concrete blocks. I've heard plenty of salty language in my days, but the most profound and damaging 7 words I hear in the Pentagon are, "This is how we've always done it." That is simply unacceptable today. The Defense Innovation Board has kept DoD accountable on this score, and I'm confident it will continue to do so. A final thought. America excels at innovation because of our democratic system, born of free minds, free markets, and free people. DoD can only benefit from that as long as our democracy endures. If we want to keep changing the world, we have to strengthen the democratic principles that make this nation so worth defending and make changing the world even possible. When you think about it, these things are deeply interconnected. Enforcing contracts and protecting IP depends on upholding the rule of law. Hiring a talented workforce depends on having good schools, universities, and legal pathways for immigration. The flourishing of all Americans depends on ensuring equal rights and equal opportunity for all. And starting a business, investing in others, inventing a product, and taking it to market depends on safeguarding the institutions that provide the blanket of liberty under which Americans do so. Each of you on this board has contributed to all of that. I'm grateful to you for it, and I look forward to the contributions you'll make in the future. just as I'll be watching for our successors at DoD to build on our successes with their own. Thank you very much for your service.
Madam Deputy Secretary, thank you so much for the work that you've done. The country hopefully will listen to what you said and the rest of us and continue. I did not know about the Indiana limestone. Always wondered where it came from, but now I know. Before we wrap up, board members, would you any question you might have for the Deputy Secretary or anything else? Well, thank you. Thank you for your
all.
partnership. Let me once again thank Lloyd Austin and you and Heidi Shue and the entire team. So we'll continue to look for opportunities, and hopefully you'll still have some impact. We have a long ways to go, and it's a very dangerous world out there, getting more dangerous every single day. And somehow or other we've got to find a ways to deal with that and to not throw in the towel or make some terrible, tragic mistakes, which in this day and age could lead to calamity. Thank you all. Marina?
Thank you very much.
Want to finish?
Go ahead, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and with that, we have come to the close of our public meeting today. We thank you all for joining us today. A warm thank you to all of our board members for all your great work. And with that, we bid you farewell. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.